Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this La Trobe Bachelor of Business, Tourism and Hospitality and Event Management webinar. During the session, you'll be able to ask questions in the Q&A box on your screen. We will take questions at the end of the session so as not to disrupt the flow of the presentation. If you run out of time, then you may proceed to the online consultation booth after the webinar and our staff will assist you. We are pleased to introduce to you two La Trobe staff members, Professor Young and Dr. Frey, who are joining us from Melbourne today to share about the program as well as the SIM La Trobe experience. I shall now hand over to Prof. Young to start the session.
Thank you very much, Connie. Hello, everyone. We're delighted to be here to talk to you today. I'm Professor Suzanne Young from La Trobe University, and we're going to talk to you today about the two Bachelor of Business courses that we run with Singapore Institute of Management. We've had a relationship with the Singapore Institute of Management for a number of years, and this year will be the first students who will be graduating from these two courses. And I'm going to introduce La Trobe University, and then Dr. Frey will actually introduce the two courses and provide a lot more detail about tourism and hospitality and event management. So I'm Professor Suzanne Young. I'm a Professor of Corporate Governance and Corporate Responsibility, and I'm also the Acting Associate Provost, Academic Partnerships and International in the College of Arts, Social Science and Commerce at La Trobe University. I'm responsible for all external teaching partnerships that La Trobe conducts with partners domestically and internationally, and I'm also responsible for placements and internships that we offer with La Trobe University. As I said, I'm the Professor of Corporate Governance and Corporate Responsibility, and in that role, I teach and research in those two key areas. La Trobe University is a signatory of the United Nations Principles of Responsible Management Education, and we take very seriously our education in terms of responsible management. And we work internationally with business schools in research and in education to ensure that our students are learning cutting-edge information and have skills and education in ethics and sustainability. Now, La Trobe University is the third oldest university in Victoria, and we are ranked in the top 1% of universities worldwide. I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about our rankings, but overall we are ranked highly internationally. So any degree that you get from La Trobe University has great status and is recognised well internationally in terms of our research, in terms of education and our courses, and in terms of employability. Our research is rated well above world standard in 23 different fields of research across the university. The university is large and is over 50 years old. We have more than 36,000 current students and over 200,000 alumni. We have 7 Australian campuses. This photo there is a photo of our campus in Melbourne. We also have a campus in the Melbourne CBD, and in regional Victoria, Albury-Wodonga, Bendigo, Mildura and Shepparton. We also have a campus in Sydney, plus we work with our international partners in Singapore, in Hanoi in Vietnam, and with many different partners in China. Our degrees are all designed in conjunction with our industry advisory boards and offer internships and placements and ensure that our subject matter reflects industry best practice. And so our degrees aren't just based on theory, but also have very much a practical orientation. Now, the degree is offered by the La Trobe Business School, which sits within the College of Arts, Social Science and Commerce. So the college looks after courses and degrees and staffing in humanities and social sciences, in education, in law and in business. The courses, as I said, are offered by the La Trobe Business School, and the La Trobe Business School has gained AA CSB accreditation. Now, this is an international accreditation that not many business schools in the world have attained, and it recognises the quality and the capabilities of the staff, the courses and the strategy of the Trobe Business School. Now, these are some of our rankings at the university level and within the course level. So in terms of hospitality and tourism, we are ranked top 100 globally. And this demonstrates the calibre of the course and the teachers who are and the research of the academics who are teaching into hospitality and tourism. And that's the Shanghai ranking 2020. Other rankings show that the Times Higher Education puts La Trobe University in the world's top 250 globally. The Times Higher Education also shows in 2019 that we were the top 50 in the Asia Pacific region. I've already said that we're top ranked in terms of our fields of research by the Australian Research Council 2019. Now, as I said before, we take responsible management very seriously, and our university has values that demonstrate that we take seriously our sustainability and our ethics and our contribution to our communities in which we work. And in that, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are taken seriously by our university. The Times Higher Education 2020 looked at universities worldwide in terms of their work in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we were ranked on that ranking in the top 4 globally. And in terms of gender equality, we were ranked as #1 in the world for gender equality. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And that's in terms of the work we do in gender with our academics, but also our students, and also in the way we teach sustainability and gender equality. We were ranked #2 globally in the Times Higher Education in 2019 for our work in health and wellbeing. And we were ranked in the top 100 for quality education. So I think if you're going to consider doing a degree with La Trobe University, you will see that it is ranked very highly, that you will come out with a degree that's internationally recognised, and that in terms of employability, the employment opportunities are considerable. Now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Elspeth Frew, who's the course coordinator of these 2 degrees that are offered with Singapore Institute of Management, and she'll talk about the career options, the course, and the standing of the course in terms of employability. So thank you, Elspeth.
Thanks, Suzanne. So we're looking at the Bachelor of Business Tourism Hospitality top-up and the Bachelor of Business Event Management degree top-up. So as Suzanne said, I'm going to speak about the industry, the tourism, hospitality and event industry. I'm going to talk about career opportunities, and I'm going to talk about how the industry is recovering now from what happened in 2020 with COVID-19. Now, as far as staff who teach into the programme are concerned, we're all research active, and we're seen to be at world standard in as far as our research. So we have Professor Warwick Frost, and his expertise in research is events, festivals, film tourism, tourism and media. Myself, I look at dark tourism, cultural tourism, event management. And my two colleagues who are both called Paul Willard and Paul Strickland, look at various aspects of battlefield tourism, wine tourism, and so on. And in fact, evidence of us being research active is shown in our various books that we've written. We've looked at gastronomy, we've looked at dark tourism, we've looked at national identities, and most recently we published a book on the drivers and impacts of change in relation to the future of tourism, hospitality and events. And one of our subjects, we actually used that textbook as our prescribed text. We are active within the community, and we're members of our local tourism, hospitality and events education association called Coffee. And we're also members of the Victorian Tourism Industry Council. So let's think briefly about the degrees that we're offering. We're offering a top-up degree, as I've said, with a course duration of 18 months, which works out to be about 1.5 years. And during those 1.5 years, you study 4 subjects per semester in a variety of teaching formats. So it's block mode, face-to-face and online. And because you've previously studied various things before, you're granted credit or advanced standing for the subjects you've previously studied. And that means that you're in effect, you become, and you have an advanced standing for your previous studies when you go into the equivalent of second year. So these are the 2 degrees side by side each other, and those are the compulsory subjects listed in each degrees. So you can see that tourism and hospitality really has a focus on tourism industry and managing and operating the tourism industry, and events management more focused on the management of events. So if we think about the types of careers that you can have in tourism and hospitality, first of all, we're looking at various management roles within the areas of restaurants, cafes, bars, hotels, and those kind of areas within hospitality. And then in events, we're looking at conference management, destination marketing, event management, those kind of positions. Now, the interesting thing about tourism, hospitality and events is that these types of activities have been around for many, many years and reflect that humans are interested in travel to experience different cultures and different people, and to experience the architecture, nightlife and food and so on. And what I've noticed during the lockdown, during 2020, people are desperate to travel again. They're really interested in going to different places and attending events. And often one of the things we do is we travel and we have these amazing experiences when we travel to different locations. So we could say that tourism in the future will continue to be a way to seek novelty, to seek change away from your home environment, and you're experiencing different cultures, experiencing nature, and looking at the different habitat, the history of the place, experiencing, tasting the food and drinks, and experiencing the culture and the customs. And so in some ways, we're exploring, we're educating ourselves, and perhaps in the future we'll move away from traditional sun, sea and sand holidays in favor of healthier, more active holidays. And if we recognise that, then we need to provide those services to those people and manage them effectively. And when you look at the types of relationship between tourism, events and hospitality, there's a lot of overlap between them. So if you think about a town, a city, or village as being the destination where many people go to attend events and to engage in tourism, in that area you have lots of locals engaging in leisure activities, time spent outside their other responsibilities of work and family. And into that area you have your domestic tourists, your international tourists and your day trippers, all using very similar infrastructure, using the transport, staying in the hotels, using the restaurants. And so there is this very clear overlap between tourism, events and hospitality. From a hospitality point of view, when you travel away from your home environment, you often stay away for longer than 24 hours. And if you do that, you obviously need somewhere to sleep. So that's where hospitality comes in. You need somewhere to sleep, something to eat, and activities to engage in. So that's when tourism, hospitality and events come together. In the tourism hospitality area, there's food and beverage, accommodation, and again, we're seeing here that all overlaps. And hospitality is where you provide those services. So the types of careers you can have in tourism hospitality would be with organisations such as Singapore Tourism Board or Tourism Australia. They're at the government level, at the national level, and their job is to promote the individual countries as tourist destinations, recognising the benefit of tourism to the country, so economically, socially and environmentally. So there's jobs in those areas with businesses, governments and organisations that support tourism and hospitality. We have opportunities to work in hotels, motels, resorts and the cruising industry. The cruising industry was impacted by COVID, but it's basically coming back once we're beyond we're all got vaccinated and so on. There's opportunities in restaurants, cafes, bars, hotels, and events. And also there's opportunities to work with destination marketing organizations and within attractions. So places that most of their visitors are tourists, like zoos and so on, and then organizations that focus in on cities. So Visit Singapore is a tourism organization focusing on encouraging people to come to that particular city. So in Melbourne, we have Destination Marketing Melbourne. It's all about coordinating all the activities to make sure people come to that destination. So when we think about hospitality, it's all about looking after people's needs, and the hotel attendees are guests, and providing food and beverage and welcome them and encouraging them to stay. When we look at the food services, we can recognize there's lots of different types of restaurants that exist, from independent restaurants to chains and franchises. And there's various types of restaurants, which range from fine dining all the way down to quick service or fast food. If you're a tourist, it's often a treat to go and experience fine dining with lovely linen, tablecloths, and being waited on and lovely food. Versus when you're busy, you just want a quick meal, then you obviously have to offer quick service or fast food. But each one of these listed here has an important role to play in hospitality because it fulfills a different need for each of the different tourists. This slide here summarizes all the different parts of the hospitality sector and shows a diversity of activities within the hospitality sector, from hotels, restaurants, casinos, and so on, through to catering and accommodation provided at various places like universities. You'll recognize the fact that there's many hotels worldwide. So every part of the world has hotels. So there's thousands of hotels, there's millions of restaurants employing very many people. And the hospitality sector, in fact, has been described as one of the world's largest industries. And it's complex and it's spread out across the whole world. And these type of names, you'll be familiar with some of these 5-star hotels, which are recognized now across the world internationally. And they get together in groups, and they manage the different groups to make them as international and as high quality as possible. So when we look at the future of hospitality, this is just a funny little slide about the fact that there are some robots in hospitality. There's even one in Singapore at the moment which greets the guests. But obviously these have to be managed and they have to be looked after, and they obviously they're useful, but they don't replace staff to actually do the customer service and the management of the actual establishment. We have things like in the future the idea of underwater hotels, and we also have the idea of the future space travel. Wouldn't it be great to go and actually to visit the moon and travel around space and have that experience? The idea being that we're always pushing our boundaries. From an event management point of view, events are very familiar to students because we often attend events. So because we're looking at celebrations, we're looking at performances, we're looking at exhibitions and festivals, and they range from global events like the Olympics and Commonwealth Games down to more local festivals. And they range in reasons that they happen from profit making to promoting products and services. And they also overlap with tourism and hospitality because when people attend these events, they often need somewhere to stay. And after the events, they go and visit some tourist attractions as well. In the future, events will continue to do what they've always done, which is allow people to gather together to solve problems, to celebrate, to mourn, to mark transitions, to make decisions, to show strength, and so on. So when you think about events that celebrate, we have birthdays, we have anniversaries, and to mourn would be a funeral, and to mark transitions would be birthdays and graduation ceremonies and those kind of things. And one of the things that we missed last year during lockdown was we missed out the opportunity to have those events, and now we're actually experiencing them now again. So that will continue to be the case in the future. So as I said, students see events as relevant and engaging in a major part of their world, and you often as students regularly participate in events. So I often ask the students to bring in examples of their own experiences of events they've attended, and I'm starting to get to know lots of events in Singapore from the examples I've given in the classes. So they're both familiar and attractive. So you can see opportunities in event management working with government organisations that stage events. So that's at the kind of at the state level and at the national level, recognising again the benefit of events. People come to the destination, bring with them money, spend money in the tourism hospitality sector as well. You have professional event organisers whose job is to professionally plan and operate events for particular people. So whether it's, you know, a UFO festival or Comic-Con, those kind of things. So it's specialist running of events. Then we have various venues who host events, like your conference centres, and some hotels have large banquet and conferencing facilities, which our students and our graduates have been involved in operating and managing. And then events are also recognised as being important when you promote the destination as a place to hold major events. So Melbourne has got Business Events Victoria, which focuses on trying to attract business events to Victoria, recognising the benefits of events to regions. So there's lots of opportunities there. And I looked around to see the potential job opportunities in the future for these areas. And I found these figures from these various sources to show the growth in potential moving forward for hotel managers and conference and event organisers. And they've said that the future growth through events is very strong. Future growth for hotel and event managers are moderate, but it has potential to grow continually. So I wanted to reflect on the fact that last year we saw the lockdown with COVID-19, but I wanted to reflect on the fact that tourism hospitality events have been adapting themselves and changing to accommodate these changes that we've experienced in the world. So when I look at this picture, I can see that this person's wearing their mask, they've got some gloves on, and they're socially distanced in a queue. So as we move forward, we will see lots and lots of examples of tourism, hospitality and events activities that have modified or adapted to COVID-19. So for example, here we have the mosh pit with all the people here jumping up and down, listening to the concert. But it's moved now to be more, people are together in their friendship groups, but they're apart from each other to minimize the spread. So COVID-safe events are more and more being experienced around the world. So people can still experience the atmosphere, can still have a good time, listen to their favorite music and experience and have a nice time with their friends, but at least it's COVID safe. So then we have this example here of drive-in concerts that happened with social distancing. So people were in their cars and they were able to show their appreciation by flashing their lights, honking their horns, turning on their windscreen wipers. And this guy here, this singer was in Denmark, and he said he was surprised by how much engagement he had with people in the cars. So obviously you hope that this is organised well enough that people are not reversing out, they're all organised to move out in an orderly way. But that shows to me reinforces how important events are, and people want to engage in events and attend them. This is an example from back in March when the Tokyo Marathon usually attracts 300,000 participants, but they ran it, but they all were restricted only to 200 elite runners. So this shows me that your events may be scaled down, but they're still running and they're still operating. They still need to be managed, and they still can create benefits to the local community. We've seen examples of events going ahead being staged without spectators. So you'll still have the events, sporting events, but you still have the TV cameras and so on. And then you have the soccer playing here with audience members watching from home, just to create some kind of atmosphere. And then balls being wiped down to make sure that there's not cross-contamination. We have examples of fashion shows happening during COVID, where everyone wore their masks, so you can still have that kind of experience, and going to cinemas with their masks on. This was a good idea that someone had because they recognised the airport car park was not getting used. So they decided to use the trolleys that you use for your luggage, and they were able to show people could come around, see the images, park the car, and then come out and actually buy them if they're interested. So those kind of exhibits could still go ahead. Now, if you think about Singapore, what Singapore has done, Singapore has recognised the importance of tourism, hospitality and events, and they organise these vouchers. So let's just have a show of hands, of a thumbs up, who here has now gone and received their voucher and has used their $100 voucher to go and explore Singapore? Thumbs up, anyone? No? Well, I would strongly recommend that you do, because it runs out, you have to redeem your voucher by the 30th of June this year. So the idea here is that it's trying to encourage Singapore citizens above 18 to go out and explore Singapore. The idea being, at the moment we can't travel internationally, but people still have some leisure time that they're free from their work and their family responsibilities. And what they're saying is, look, this is a great opportunity for you to explore your own area and spend your money in the local area, which will benefit everyone. And when you look at the types of attractions that are being involved in this voucher system, you can see quite clearly there's well-known destinations. We've got the zoo down here, Singapore Zoo. We've got Madame Tussauds. We've got the Marina Bay Sands Sky Park. We've got quite well-known places, and they're all willing to be involved in this voucher scheme as a way of getting people to come out and experience the place, perhaps buy some food and drink, and then recommend the event or the destination or the accommodation or the attraction, recommend it to their family and friends, and then generate some more business that way. So it's a really interesting way that people have responded to the COVID crisis. The World Tourism Organization has recognized the opportunity to restart tourism, hospitality and events post-COVID, and they put out some priorities for tourism recovery. And when you look at what they've actually done, they're basically saying, look, we want to help make sure that there's safe and seamless travel for people to move around the world. And it's going to be safe from the moment you leave the house to when you come back to your home, recognizing that there's all these ways of making sure that everything's COVID safe as possible. So when you think about the degrees that we're offering here, tourism, hospitality and events, it reflects that tourism, hospitality and events, they're international industries, and they're all over the world. So I wanted to encourage you to think about your future and think about your future career, and think about the fact that these types of degrees can allow you to travel around the world and engage in career and jobs and opportunities around the world. So I want you to think large and think global, and think to yourself, where in the world do you want to work? Do you want to work within Singapore? Do you want to work in the city or further out, or elsewhere in Asia, or anywhere in the world? So it's, if these types of degrees provide you the opportunity to travel and move away or stay in your home area, depending on what your desire is. So I'm going to stop speaking now, and I'm going to hand back to Connie, and we can answer any questions that you might have